What's up? It's your girl Dom, and welcome to the Kickback. Basically, the Kickback is a little bit more than a gathering, but not quite a party, so it's a kickback with Ivy League students. So basically what I'm going to do is show the Ivy League experience in a way never done before. Every single Monday, Ivy League students are going to join me in for the convo. So the convo is 8 Ivy League students on a Zoom call. We're gonna have a conversation about that week's topic. Following that episode on Friday, every single Friday, those same Ivy League students who were in the convo would join me for the story. So this week's topic is why my Ivy League is the best Ivy League. This week's cast members attending the kickback are Elijah from Harvard University, Abby from Princeton University, Hannah from Dartmouth College, Juan Jose from Columbia University, 𝐋𝐄𝐓'𝐒 from Yale University, Andy from Brown University, Haley from the University of Pennsylvania, and last but not least, 𝐋𝐄𝐓'𝐒 from Cornell University. So basically, let's just get into the convo. Hello guys, welcome to the first episode of the Kickback series. Today I'm gonna ask you guys some questions about your Ivies, and this is just a conversation, so feel free to comment, to ask questions back. I would like to talk as little as possible. I go to Penn, but I'm not gonna be representing Penn, so I'm gonna just serve as you guys' moderator. So if we could first start with you giving your introduction of your name, hometown, your year, and school, starting with Princeton.
Hi, my name's Abby. I'm a sophomore at Princeton from New York City, and I'm majoring in ecology and evolutionary biology with a minor in global health and health policy.
Hi, my name is Juan Jose. I'm a sophomore at Columbia University, studying art history and Latin American and Caribbean studies. I was born in Bogota, Colombia, but I was raised on Long Island, so there's that.
What's up, guys? My name is Haley Reisig. I'm a rising junior at the University of Pennsylvania, and I'm studying cognitive neuroscience with a minor in consumer psychology.
Where are you from?
Albuquerque, New Mexico.
How about Brown?
Hi, my name is Andy Lin. I'm a freshman at Brown University, concentrating in applied math economics. I'm from Beijing, China, but I went to boarding school up in New Hampshire for the last 4 years.
Hi, I'm Elijah 𝐶𝐄𝐓'𝐒. I'm a rising junior at Harvard. I study African American studies, and I'm from Madison, Wisconsin.
What's up, y'all? My name is 𝐋𝐄𝐓'𝐒. I'm a senior at Cornell studying nutritional sciences, and I grew up in Long Island, but I live in upstate New York right now.
Hey, I'm Hannah Bird. I am a sophomore at Dartmouth College. I'm from the North Shore of Massachusetts, not just outside of Boston, and I am majoring in a combination of engineering and biology.
Hi guys, my name is 𝐋𝐄𝐓'𝐒. I'm a rising junior at Yale. I'm from Southern California. I am an ethnicity, race, and migration or American Studies major with a certificate in Spanish.
So I want to just throw out there, and whoever can answer first, which school do you think is ranked first, and which school do you think is ranked last of the Ivies? Of everything, just academics, social life, education. If you were to take a second to rank them all, where would you put them?
Oh no.
I'm not gonna lie. I said something incredibly controversial yesterday. Well, I don't know how controversial it was. My sister was like, I recently found out that Stanford isn't an Ivy. And I was like, yeah, because the Ivy League, it's really just an athletic conference. So if you're to rank like how good the schools actually are, Stanford could easily replace Dartmouth, and MIT could replace Cornell.
Oh.
I did not know we were gonna get
That might be accurate.
First,
I know, right off the bat.
I think I think like all of us could easily say that our schools are first, and like of course I'm gonna come in like flaming like yes, like Yale is first, but like I'm not gonna roast like Cornell or Dartmouth. Like I feel like people are so mean about that, and like saying that Cornell is like a fake Ivy, like it's funny, but like that's like hurtful for the kids who actually worked really hard to be there. But you know, like if we did have to rank, I think like there's too many memes about like Cornell and Dartmouth to like you know, like
Don't clump me in with Cornell.
Whoa. I can defend. I can defend. You know, I can defend it. I can defend it. Before going into this, I was actually gonna say. Sorry, I was actually gonna say I thought we were top 3. Listen. Hear me out. We're a big research institution. We have like the best dining halls apparently in like the whole of the nation. That's a fact. I don't believe it.
It's number 1, baby. Number 1, baby. No,
okay, then we're still top 3 though. If you're number 1, I can still be top 3. You feel me?
Okay, you're top 3, but I'm 1. We gotta secure that position. We gotta get that clear off the bat.
Okay, so if we're not ranking which one's best and which one's worst, where would you rank your school out of 1 through 8? Where would you put your school? And let's go around, starting with Brown.
I think I have to say 1, right? Like I can't make concessions that we're not as good.
What is the best pro about Brown?
I like the people. I know that's like a generic answer, but the way the curriculum is shaped, it kind of conduces like a very interesting, diverse student body that all kind of excel in their own unique way.
How about Penn?
So I definitely, being realistic, I would want to say maybe 3 or 4. And I would say that only because I don't know if y'all have seen the meme of this, like, it's basically a podium stand, like 1, 2, 3. And the first picture, it's like just panned in on someone from Penn, and they're like celebrating, they're going all hard, like pop in the bottles of champagne, and then they pan out and Penn is the 3rd place, and then Harvard and Princeton like 1 and 2. And I just feel like that's the energy that Penn brings. But you know, they act like they're number 1, but I don't think that we'd really be up to the competition, not gonna lie.
Most people would say that they would put Harvard number 1. So Harvard, would you agree with that, or would you think that there's some flaws with your school?
I mean, I'm not going to sit here and pretend that Harvard's a perfect institution by any means. That being said, I do personally think that it's number 1, just because there's a lot of like very weird like quirks and kind of intricacies to the community. Like the housing system that we have is really great. There's so many like great individual communities and pockets of people that you can find and mesh with. And then you have the academics, which the professors that you can have access to, which are great across all the Ivies. But like, I don't know, I just look at the ones in some of the departments that I'm really interested in here at Harvard, and it's just, you can't do any better.
I've also heard that some students think that Harvard is the easiest Ivy. Would you agree with that?
There definitely is some great inflation. I'll say that much.
How about Princeton? Where would you place your Ivy?
I would maybe put it at like 2 or 3. Really just because I think Princeton's wonderful, but I think in a lot of ways it's like slightly stuck in the past. But I do think there are like a lot of good things about it. I really like the people, and I really like that it's like one of the smallest Ivies. But also on the flip side of that, we have really heavy grade deflation. So that really gets to me. I think we're slowly climbing to number 1. We just had our first Black valedictorian in our school's history, and it was like all over the news. It's super exciting. So really good things are happening. So we're going to be number 1 very soon.
Dartmouth, like you've taken some hits. Where do you think your school is ranked?
I think Dartmouth is a very underrated school, especially when it comes to the college itself. Like, a lot of these rankings take into account graduate schools, and I'm gonna be honest, Dartmouth's graduate schools, like, they exist, but they're very small. We have more than twice as many undergraduate students than we do graduate students, and just that makes like there's such a large undergraduate focus at Dartmouth. The education is truly for undergraduates, which I think is something that gets overlooked a lot. Also, Dartmouth is a really fun place. We have a huge Greek scene, which is problematic in a lot of ways, but it is very fun. It's super inclusive and open to everyone, even if you're not affiliated. And that, with the beauty of New Hampshire, makes me think that, well, like, we're probably not like the top. I definitely don't think we're bottom. So somewhere in the middle between 3 and 5.
Since Dartmouth is kind of in the woods, if we do the opposite, Columbia being in the biggest city in the world, how would you rank your school?
I definitely want to say like it's number 1, but I obviously know that it has its faults. So I would put it, at 2. In terms of food, we are number 1. We beat Duke the other, like my year coming in, we beat Duke, so we're number 1. But Princeton, Abby, I feel for you in terms of being stuck in the past. I feel like, especially being at Columbia, you kind of also have to put yourself in comparison with the other New York schools, like the New York City schools. And I just don't think that Columbia is up to date when it comes to a lot of the majors. I'm a creative person and I don't have that many creative options. You either have visual arts or you have art history, but other than that, I have no media and communications. I have nothing. So you definitely have to make the most of it. The core is hit or miss. The core was literally built for white men, white, educated, rich men. So it can feel very exclusionary. For example, a couple of years ago, Toni Morrison was the first Black person to be added to the LitHum, the Literature Humanities syllabus. And she's the only right now. But something that I love, like you said, Domonique, the city is literally incomparable. I think the city is part of the experience.
So with kind of you bringing up the diversity, and we have a very diverse group of people here, do you feel as though your campus, and anyone can speak on this, is kind of segregated, or do you guys all, or actually let's have the seniors speak on this from Cornell, since you've gone through all 4 years, when you walk through campus, is it very friendly? Do you say hi to people when you're walking down your campus, or is it kind of just very cliquish?
So I think it is very cliquish for multiple reasons. One, it's very easy to separate yourself from people on my campus. I feel like it's such a big campus that you might go a month without seeing people, and it might not be on purpose, but it just happens. So you just end up spending time with your immediate friends, and that way it becomes very cliquish. And I personally have had experiences of going with friends trying to get into certain frat houses, and just no, that's not happening. Specifically in the Black community, we try our very hardest to stay together, because we know that outside of us, there's not many of us, and we're severely outnumbered. Long story short, I think the answer is yeah.
I think that racial segregation, and also to a lesser extent that people don't talk about a lot, economic segregation, is just sort of, it comes with the territory of college, unfortunately. There's the idea that college is this great equalizer, but in reality it isn't a lot of the time. Princeton, the social scene is especially stratified around what we call eating clubs, and that is heavily race and socioeconomic dependent.
Your socioeconomic level is not something that you wear on your sleeve. It's not something that, you can look at and be like, oh, you're poor, oh, you're rich. As a low-income student, I will say that the college experience is very difficult for me sometimes.
So at you guys' Ivies, is it apparent walking through campus who has money and who doesn't?
I think it'd be ignorant to say that Brown doesn't have kind of socioeconomic and race divisions, but I do think Brown does a good job, or at least Brown students do a good job of not focusing on those divisions. So regardless of what you choose to wear or what brand you want to sport, no one is going to, at least in my experience, no one would use that as something to identify who you are.
I struggled my first year at Penn because I'm this country New Mexican girl thrown into Philadelphia, this big Ivy League school, and I thought that I would almost be comfortable with being thrown into that environment almost, and it's definitely hard, and it's something I struggled with. I didn't know half the designers that these people were wearing, and I just felt so out of place, and it was crazy because I'd had everything that I ever wanted in New Mexico, and it was definitely a culture shock going to an Ivy League school and seeing all these kids that had all this stuff, and for a while I felt I got kind of caught up in it, and it just made me so upset, and I just feel I don't know if that's something that y'all went through when you first got to your schools, but I was really surprised by it.
That experience of getting to your Ivy League and having just a kind of culture shock, it's definitely something I relate to. Yeah, it was just the first time I'd seen what real money, how much money just people can have and the things they can do with it. And I was kind of just blown away.
Yeah, I would say one thing that I really love about Princeton is the fact that just about everyone lives on campus. So you could be super rich and still get really bad housing.
It's actually interesting hearing all of y'all talk about the social scenes of your schools, because in hearing all y'all talk about it, I'm realizing how I feel like completely opposite my school is in a lot of senses. Like in terms of like housing, first off, like the buildings are kind of divided into different groups. Like everyone knows all the athletes live in the townhouses. All the rich people live in this place called, these three buildings called CKB, like Court K Bauer. For the most part, I feel a lot of people know what kind of people they are based off seeing where people live. There's other groups, I don't even know like where their places exist, just because the campus is so big and we're so spread out that it's so easy to just go and click up in different areas. Just grouping us in the housing system, I feel like they do off the bat freshman year, we just go those 4 years, just want to stay with those groups and continue to like not want to branch out.
I think it's interesting that you say like that you have that experience and you say like maybe you attribute it to like a big campus. But you know, my campus, like physical campus, is probably like 1 avenue long, 6 blocks up, like that's physical campus, and yet I have the same experience, you know. From the very beginning, there's like kind of like reputations for each dorm. The housing process is you do it in groups and you decide who's in your group, so you do it by your friends. So that like there's no incentive to kind of like, you know, try to like go out of your comfort zone and like, you know, live with somebody else.
You have guaranteed housing for all 4 years basically at Yale, and like you have your residential college to like fall back on.
I'm so jealous of y'all's schools that have housing for 4 years or even 3 years, because Penn, well, they're changing it. It used to just be you have to live on campus your freshman year, and then I think next year they're changing it to you have to live on campus your sophomore year. But it totally changes the dynamic of everything, because pretty much in October of your freshman year, you have to decide where you're living next year. And everyone is just dying to get off campus because that's like the thing. Like, I didn't know what I was doing. And my friends were like, we're moving off campus. And I was like, okay, like I'll sign the lease, I guess. Like, I didn't know what to do. Hearing about Yale's like community that they have, I feel like when you're living with people, and especially like Princeton, like you're just getting thrown into these houses, it just makes for such a better community, and I wish that Penn had something like that.
How do you guys like your town, the area you're in?
I feel safe in New Haven, and like Yale students are very privileged. Like all the residential colleges are gated. Like you have to swipe into buildings and stuff, and like I think it's like important to realize and talk about the fact that there's been a lot of racial stigma because of like the racial makeup of New Haven versus like the historic makeup of Yale students, and Yale in general as being very white and upper class. A lot of the idea that like New Haven is dangerous is like so overblown because of the fact that it's like mostly Black.
On 125th Street, they're like building, they're like making new buildings, and like they're actively pushing out people of color and like Black Harlem residents from there. I can't imagine, as like a white Latinx, I can't imagine like what it then feels like to be Black on this campus, because like the extra policing, this idea that like, oh, like, you know, part of the city, you know, we don't want like the city to come into like Columbia. It's a very sensitive topic here at Columbia.
I'm from New York City, and I live in New York City. It's really funny though, because I've always felt safer in cities than I've felt in the suburbs. Going to school in a suburb, it was something that happened in high school because I also went to a high school in the suburbs, where people drive by and like yell the N-word. And so that's one thing that always really stresses me out. And I wish I stayed like in a city to go to a city school. Maybe most people don't think like this, but I truly do a lot of the time feel safer walking down the street and seeing a Black man coming towards me than seeing a white man coming towards me.
I think Penn has a lot of similarities to West Philadelphia as Columbia and Yale do, because the gentrification in our like university city definitely makes it like there's a Penn area and then there's like this outer area, and like you don't go past certain streets, and like that's just kind of what they make it out to be. And Penn definitely provides a ton of security measures. Like they have security personnel standing on almost every block, and to me that almost makes me more like nervous just about being where I am. Like they make me scared. And I definitely think that perhaps on all campuses, like feeling safe is almost subjective. Like for example, there's a homeless guy that I see every single day walking to school, and I say hi to him, say good morning, and like it's just kind of part of my day. I don't feel threatened or anything, but there's some people who might really feel uncomfortable or unsafe in that situation.
Ithaca is honestly, it's not really Ithaca. Ithaca is Cornell. Like Cornell takes up so much of Ithaca that like Cornell has its own like zip code like within. Yeah, it's ridiculous. Ithaca is like not much of anything. So like if you leave campus to do anything, it's probably just a grocery shop and go back to campus. So it's like Ithaca is not really that great of a city, so it doesn't really give to the whole college culture. But I find it interesting because all of you have talked about how like the perceptions of the surrounding community of the school affects like on-campus life and like racial disputes on campus, even without like that stigma that of Ithaca being like a dangerous place or whatever. There's still a lot of racial incidents that happen on campus.
Wait, can you kind of, whoever's been, like anyone can speak on it, kind of like give to the viewers what it kind of looks like? Because most people don't even know what it, oh, thank you.
Yeah, Ithaca, the saying is Ithaca is gorgeous. It's, how do I explain it? Like gorgeous, like the waterfall kind of things. It's a beautiful campus. Like if you really like nature, you'll love Ithaca, but like I can kind of care less about nature. Like Google Photos are good for me.
Dartmouth is literally like in the middle of the woods. It's also on the Connecticut River. Like you walk 2 minutes and you're at the river and you go canoeing. Dartmouth is very integrated with the town and the nature surrounding it. Similar to what Chika was saying, like Hanover is Dartmouth, Dartmouth is Hanover. The minute I drove through campus, I could tell that it was a college town. Down the road, you see the New Hampshire mountains. It is an absolutely beautiful view.
We have access to downtown Providence, but at the same time, we are kind of in our own community. The main street that runs through our school is called Dare Street, and they have a bunch of really good food. So I'm really grateful for the geography that Brown has.
At Harvard, like I don't go into Boston that often just because I don't tend to go to a lot of like the Northeastern or Boston University parties or anything. I don't go to the clubs or the bars in the city. There's like the museums and the Charles River. There's a lot of really great stuff that you can do, a lot of great food. The sporting events are phenomenal in the city. But then in Cambridge, where Harvard is, it's kind of just like it's like a suburban like little town. I do like Cambridge and I like the freedom to, if need be, you can kind of, oh, I want a bigger city feel, and it's only, a couple tea stops away. You kind of have an option each weekend if you want to go do the big party thing, or if you want to stay on the Harvard campus, which, like, spoiler alert, there aren't super huge parties at Harvard.
It's always been so funny to me to see, like, people, like, Colorado, Utah, like, my roommate, like, my freshman year, he's so granola, but it's just, like, I'm like, what are you gonna do here? Like he's like oh, I want to go hike. I'm like, what, the one? I'm like, I don't know, that's always like such a weird thing. Anyways, I will say, I just want to also like jump in and say like the good things about being in New York City. It is so indispensable to go off campus. I think one of my best, like one of the like fun memories that I had, like I went to like a New York Fashion Week show like in my freshman fall.
This is so weird because Princeton's the only school whose name is the name of the town, but Princeton is not Princeton. Like they are two very different entities. I'd say Princeton has from what I've seen, probably the least college town feel. Like we don't have an Insomnia, which grinds the gate. Like, anyway, I should have looked into that before I decided what school to go to.
The last thing I wanted to do, based on U.S. News' rankings of the schools, to just tell you how close you were with your guess of the ranks of your university. So first place, they put Princeton for being the best university. And then next, they put Harvard. Third, they put Columbia. And then fourth, Yale. Next, they put UPenn. Then Dartmouth, Brown, and Cornell last. That pretty much concludes the Zoom kickback call for today. You can leave questions below to ask any of these wonderful people questions about their school or themselves, and they'll be back on Friday to answer those questions. So thank you guys.
Bye. Bye.
I hope you enjoyed the kickback today. Make sure you tune in Friday to join me in the story with those same 8 Ivy League students to hear a story time session, and then the following Monday for the next convo. Then Friday, Monday, Friday. Just tune in. Come join me in the kickback. Otherwise, have a wonderful day, kids. Bye.